Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel with a new horrifying story. Today's episode is going to be an intense one as we delve into the dark and creepy history of St. Mary's Asylum in Millfield, Indiana. The story will be about a paranormal investigator, Steve, who recently had the chance to explore this abandoned hospital, and let me tell you, the things he experienced there straight sent shivers down my spine. He said, and I quote, "As a paranormal investigator, I've already been skeptical of the ghost stories surrounding this place, but as I stepped into the hospital that fateful night, I soon realized that the tales of horror and suffering that had been whispered about were all too real. What we found, I'm not sure of. Decide for yourself." Are you ready to join me on this eerie journey into the heart of St. Mary's Asylum? Get comfortable, grab some popcorn, and let's delve into the unknown together. Let's uncover the truth behind the ghostly tales and mysterious events that have taken place at this abandoned hospital. My name's Larry Miles, and this is The Scare Factor. The hospital I set foot in that fateful night was known as St. Mary's Asylum, and it was located in the small town of Millfield, Indiana. It was built in the late 19th century and was originally intended to be a place of healing and recovery for the mentally ill. But as time passed, conditions at the hospital deteriorated and it became known for its inhuman treatments of patients. Reports of abuse, neglect, and experimentation on patients were common. Many patients died due to the poor conditions and lack of medical care. The hospital was finally shut down in the 1960s, but not before it had earned a reputation as a place of horror and suffering. It wasn't long before the stories of ghostly sightings and strange occurrences began to circulate among the local residents. People claimed to have seen the spirits of former patients wandering the halls and heard the screams of those who had suffered in the hospital. Some even said that the hospital was cursed and that those who entered would never leave. But I didn't believe in such stories, and so I found myself standing in front of the hospital that night, ready to uncover the truth. The wind was howling outside and the rain was lashing against the windows. I could see bolts of lightning illuminating the sky and thunder crashing in the distance. The old hospital stood before me, its windows boarded up and its walls covered in graffiti. It had been shut for years. I had heard the stories and I had to see it for myself. I stepped inside along with two friends of mine. My heart was pounding with a mix of fear and excitement. The hospital was dark, and the only light came from the occasional bolt of lightning that illuminated the corridor. The smell of decay and mold filled my nostrils, making it hard to breathe. I walked down the corridor, my footsteps echoing in the silence. We started our investigation in the basement, where we had heard the most activity had been reported. The musty smell of damp and mold hit us as soon as we opened the door. The steps creaked under our feet as we descended deeper into the basement. I couldn't shake off the feeling that we were being watched. My heart was pounding in my chest. I tried to keep my cool, but it was hard to shake the feeling that something was going to jump out at us at any moment. As we reached the bottom of the stairs, we set up our equipment. We placed cameras in strategic positions, set up audio recorders, and turned on our EMF readers. We waited in silence, but all we could hear were the sounds of our own breathing. The air was thick and heavy, making it hard to breathe. I couldn't help but feel that something was down there with us, waiting for us. We started to move around the basement, exploring every nook and cranny, trying to find any evidence of paranormal activity. The flashlights we were using were the only source of light in the room, casting eerie shadows on the walls. Suddenly, one of the cameras picked up movement in the corner of the room. We all froze, and our hearts skipped a beat. We quickly turned our attention to the camera, but there was nothing. We checked the footage and saw that it was just a trick of the light. But we all knew that something was down there with us. We could feel it. Finally, as we were packing up our equipment and getting ready to leave, we heard a loud noise coming from the basement. We immediately froze, unsure of what to do. We decided to investigate it and slowly made our way back down to the basement. As we reached the bottom of the stairs, we heard the noise again. It was louder this time. It sounded like something was scratching the walls. As we turned the corner, one of the team members let out a blood-curdling scream. Suddenly, a figure appeared out of nowhere, standing right in front of us. It was an old man with wild eyes and disheveled hair. He was dressed in ragged clothes and was covered in dirt and grime. Appeared to be a homeless of a sort. He lunged towards us and we all scattered, running for our lives. We managed to escape the basement and the hospital, leaving our equipment behind. We were shaken and terrified by what we had seen and experienced. We never went back to that hospital again, and we never spoke of what happened that night. But we all knew that something was down there, something that was not human, something that was pure evil. Some of my friends insisted that it was no paranormal. It was just a sort of misunderstanding, and it was just a normal person who might have been also scared to death of us. I know it was something else. I felt its presence. Even though it might have been just a homeless person of a sort, or an actual ghostly apparition of a former patient standing in front of us in physical form, we were eventually happy to leave this place unharmed. The memory of this dreadful encounter still haunts me to this day. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell for upcoming horrifying content. Until then, stay tuned, and may the fear be with you.